Kidnappings in Mission Valley. Details in a live report.
A Torrey Pines alum in court today accused of attempting to kill a pregnant woman at an ATM.
Welcome home. The Banks family moves into their house after it flooded in the January storm.
Justin Philly lives with some challenges, but he does it alone. How creative support alternatives helps everyone live their best life.
Does tinting help keep your car cool during the summer heat? We verify. CBS 8 News Live at 6 starts right now.
Followed a family through the mall and eventually grabbed a 6-year-old girl and attempted to walk away with the girl.
We begin tonight with breaking news after 2 attempted kidnappings at the Mission Valley Mall. The most recent happened just hours ago, but police now say they have a suspect in custody. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Marcella Lee.
And I'm Anna Laurel in for Carlo Chiquetto. San Diego police just had a news conference at their headquarters downtown and announced they arrested that suspect. CBS 8's Kirsten Holmes was inside that news conference and joins us now live. Kirsten, what can you tell us?
Yeah, okay, so San Diego police have arrested their suspect for not just connected to 1, but 2 attempted kidnappings near Mission Valley Mall. Lieutenant Dan Meyer with San Diego police identified that suspect as Rene Lujan, and they say he was arrested downtown Thursday afternoon, all thanks to license plate readers. Take a look.
Officers responded to the scene, saturated the area, and eventually located the vehicle, making a stop on the 94 eastbound at home. They got the suspect in custody, who was later positively identified by the witness in the first case.
The would-be kidnapper, who appeared to be about 40 years old, followed the child, who was pushing a younger sibling in a stroller, and her mother for a time through the Camino del Rio North Shopping Center before grabbing the girl around 1:30 Tuesday. He then walked off in the opposite direction, and moments later the child cried out, and the man put her down and then ran away. Thankfully, no injuries were reported on Tuesday, but Lieutenant Dan Meyer identified the suspect as Rene Lujan and said that there was a second kidnapping attempt at the same location near the Mission Valley Mall, this time involving a 5-year-old girl. Again, no injuries have been reported. Officials now believe that it is the same suspect, but it has not yet been confirmed. Again, detectives have arrested Rene Lujan in connection with both of the kidnappings. They're still trying to work to confirm if he is connected to both of them. Their investigation will continue. Please stay with CBS 8 on air and online for more on this story as it develops. But for right now, what we can tell you is that police have arrested their suspect for the 2 attempted kidnappings at Mission Valley Mall.
Kirsten, pretty frightening. These children were with their families. Great news that they do have a suspect in custody tonight. What are some of the things that police are saying families can do to protect themselves in a situation like this? You might not be expecting it. You're strolling down the mall hallways.
No one would expect someone to just come up and touch their child, let alone take them in the middle of broad daylight. What police say was pivotal to making sure that these children stayed safe was the victims and their families and witnesses fighting back. It was only when the child screamed and started kicking did the would-be kidnapper put her down, and that is when he got away, but she went home safely with her family. But again, police are urging everyone to stay vigilant. Marcella, Anna Laurel.
Thanks so much, Kirsten. So important conversations to have with your little one. You don't want to scare them, but you do want to tell them that things could happen, and if someone grabs them, to scream like that young girl did. Thanks so much, Kirsten. Stay with us for the latest on this developing story. We will have all updates posted on our website, cbs8.com. You can also follow us on social media or download our free CBS 8 app. Some other breaking news we've been following tonight. Firefighters have stopped the forward progress of a brush fire that came close to homes in Tirasana. We first told you about this in the 5 o'clock hour as breaking news. This fire broke out just within the past hour on Calle Maricelda off Santo Road. But fortunately, with quick helicopter support, along with fire crews on the ground, firefighters were able to stop the fire from reaching any homes. We did see flames for a short period, but fire crews were on top of this fire. The white smoke, a great sign. No evacuations were needed, but people did come out of their homes to watch this fire burning in that canyon area. And fire investigators say people should use caution while moving through this area because crews will be there for a while mopping up the scene.
Tonight, the U.S. Attorney's Office and San Diego FBI say they've recovered millions of dollars lost in fraud scams targeting the elderly. They say they've recovered $3.3 million by freezing the accounts victims' money was transferred to, then taking that money back. The San Diego County alone, the U.S. Attorney's Office says victims of elder abuse lose between $3 and $6 million, get this, every month. It could be more since these types of crimes often go unreported.
If you think you're a victim and you report within 12 hours, we've got a good chance of getting the money back, or at least freezing it. If it's been more than a week, the money's probably gone. But that doesn't mean that victims shouldn't report, because the information helps law enforcement.
We have tips on how to protect yourself, as well as information on how to report crimes at CBS8.com. Just click on this story. Tonight, more charges are being filed against the Torrey Pines graduate and former baseball player who police say stabbed a pregnant woman at an ATM. The most severe charge against Cole Klemke is premeditated attempted murder. CBS 8's Jenny Day explains what happened today when he appeared in court.
Cole Klemke pleaded not guilty to all charges, including stabbing a complete stranger 3 times. That pregnant woman, thankfully, has been released from the hospital, and it sounds like the suspect in this case once had a really bright future ahead of him.
Enters pleas of not guilty, denies all allegations.
A not guilty plea from 27-year-old Cole Klemke, a Torrey Pines alum who went on to play baseball for the University of Nebraska while studying psychology. Now charged with premeditated attempted murder, robbery, and mayhem.
This defendant particularly seemed to have targeted this victim and walked a great distance in order to commit this assault.
Prosecutors say it was a 25-year-old pregnant woman using the ATM near the Target on Mira Mesa Boulevard in Mira Mesa when Klemke stabbed her in the chin, shoulder, and neck, just missing her carotid artery. We're told she fought back and witnesses intervened. Surveillance images led to Klemke's arrest the next day.
The defendant had his arms around the victim's neck, and before he reached for her neck, he had a knife out open at the ready. He grabbed her neck and, without exchanging any words, stabbed her in the face, slit her throat, pushed her to the ground, continued to strike her and stab her.
Felony vandalism charges were also added today following a separate random act of violence just 2 weeks ago, according to police. They say he was in possession of a switchblade and methamphetamine.
The defendant stopped in front of that car, began cursing at the victim for no reason.
The Klemke family has asked for privacy during this difficult time, but a friend of theirs for 20-plus years who coached Klemke as a kid was heartbroken to hear the news.
This is a tragedy all the way around.
He described Klemke as a humble leader, but shared that he believes he has struggled with mental health issues. A restraining order filed by his parents in 2020 shows at one point they declined to press charges and were hopeful for rehab.
This is a good family. They are hurting in a way you can't imagine. They've been dealing with this for multiple years. They've tried everything. They've exhausted financial resources, and now their son is going to go to prison.
He says this could happen to anyone.
It doesn't excuse his behavior in any way, but he needs help.
Cole Klemke will remain in custody on no bail. His next court appearance is July 1st. He's facing between 14 years to life in prison. Reporting from downtown, Jenny Day, CBS 8.
Thanks, Jenny. A man who was behind the wheel during a triple fatal DUI crash was sentenced to 15 years in prison today. Mason Fish pleaded guilty to 3 counts of gross vehicular manslaughter stemming from the February 2019 crash in Oceanside. Prosecutors say Fish was under the influence of several substances, including Xanax and cocaine, when he ran a red light and crashed into the victim's car. 74-year-old Rufina Arango Rodriguez was killed, as were her daughters, 40-year-old Petra Arango and 56-year-old Eloina Arango. 3 other family members were hurt. This Saturday marks 5 months since historic flooding impacted thousands of people across San Diego. Many families are still living in hotels through vouchers, but those expire tomorrow.
CBS 8 has been highlighting the Banks family since they lost everything January 22nd, and we've been following them through the process of rebuilding and dealing with all that red tape. CBS 8's Abby Black is live in Mountain View for us. Abby, the Banks family finally has a place to call home again.
Marcella and Anna, the Banks couple is finally home. They still need to have a new fence, but they have a new porch
and big front windows to look out and look forward to their new beginning.
Hello. Hello. Come on into our beautiful home.
A few days short of living in a hotel room for 5 months, Robert and Judy Banks are finally home.
This is so exciting.
New walls, fresh paint, wood floors, and the aroma of beans stewing in their kitchen.
Look at that, baby. Home cooked food. Oh, woo-hoo.
Behind the closet door,
My secret lies here.
if you can't tell by the outside of their home,
My green washer dryer. You feel me?
she really likes the color green.
I had to have it.
It's the little things that help starting over not so hard.
Ta-da!
But it is hard to imagine that their home could look like this. Back in January, their entire Mountain View neighborhood on South 42nd Street was underwater during an unprecedented storm.
Officers walking down through the water, wading through the water, carrying rowboats.
The banks say before the rain, they filed several complaints to the city to clean out the storm channel that was behind their house. Today, the city's repairing the fence, but the banks worry about the weeds that are already growing in the channel.
I can't go back through another flood, so they better, I'm going to make sure they keep it clean.
Many of their neighbors have not been able to return to their homes, or they refuse to leave and are living in possible mold-infested houses.
We still have work to do. I'm not going to let, I'm going to support all I can.
The banks had flood insurance through FEMA.
The money from FEMA is, I'm going to say, is worse than slow. It's worse than a snail.
Federal money didn't cover all of the work to properly restore their home. The banks wish that the city would do more to help rebuild.
And I have to give credit to my sons because their finances kept us going, so we did never have to stop.
The Banks family never gave up faith in starting a new beginning.
God has always taken care of his people. We're his people.
We're starting all over again. It's going to be rough, but we're going to make it.
Robert and Judy Banks' positivity is inspirational in providing their neighbors hope. But when you look down their street, you can still see that there are several dumpsters and barricades, a somber reminder that there is a long road to recovery for many of these families. Anna? So true, Abby. The County Board of Supervisors, they extended the hotel voucher program, but that expires tomorrow. So what are all those families staying there going to do next? Anna, I asked that question and called a spokesperson for the county, and they say out of the 900 families that were receiving those hotel vouchers and the food vouchers and receiving mental health resources, 348 are still staying in a hotel. She tells me that the local housing authorities, this is the county and the city that they're living in, are now going to be providing some sort of long-term temporary housing assistance. But happening right now, those flood victims that are staying in the hotel in National City at the Ramada Inn, they're meeting in their own town hall. We do have a crew there, and we'll update you on what they say is next. That'll be tonight on CBS 8 at 10 and 11. Anna?
So happy for the Banks family, but there's so many other families that still have a long road ahead of them before they can get back to their homes.
Hundreds of families. That's hard to believe, isn't it?
So we'll have more on that tonight at 10 and 11, as Abby just mentioned. Thanks so much, Abby, for the update on the banks, though. That leaves us with a big smile on our faces.
Yeah.
California Supreme Court removes a ballot measure that would have made it more difficult to raise taxes. Details still ahead.
Plus, FBI agents raid the home of a California mayor.
And a look at the impact from the first-named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season.
Yes, we kicked off summer for today with the solstice, and we're talking about 14 hours and 18 minutes of daylight out there. So our sunset tonight at 8 p.m. and the first weekend, bringing on the heat. All those details coming up.